If you're working in a factory and a machine starts throwing sparks, there's a big red emergency stop button right there on the wall. Anyone can hit it. But scale that up to the U.S. presidency, and that emergency stop button, the 25th Amendment, requires the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to actually pull the lever and declare a president unfit.
Right, and getting that group of loyalists to agree the machine is broken, that requires a massive, undeniable catalyst. So today's deep dive looks at a highly charged YouTube video from the channel Midas that argues we've hit exactly that threshold with Donald Trump, specifically regarding this escalating conflict with Iran.
And just to be clear up front for you listening, we are looking at an incredibly partisan piece of media today. We aren't endorsing these views or taking a side. We're simply popping the hood on this specific video to see how they construct their argument. Because, if you're going to push that constitutional emergency stop button, you really need proof.
Exactly. And in this narrative, the proof starts with some very erratic messaging. So Midas builds their case starting with an Easter Sunday message where Trump threatened to bomb Iranian power plants. He told them to, quote, "Open the oving straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell."
Wow. Okay, so that is a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is. And they pair this rhetoric with structural chaos, basically laying out a timeline of constantly shifting deadlines for securing the Strait of Hormuz. It goes from March 21st, then the 23rd, jumping to April 4th, and eventually landing on the 7th.
Right, which is less like, moving a project deadline and more like changing the coordinates of a missile strike while the missile is already in the air.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It forces everyone, allies and enemies, to just freeze because no one knows the actual target.
Right. But let me push back here for a second. I'm looking at this list of quotes, and politicians calling each other insane is frankly just another Tuesday in Washington. So how does this source elevate standard political mudslinging to a legitimate 25th Amendment argument?
Well, they do it by medicalizing the behavior, and they curate a very specific cross-partisan panic. They don't just argue this is bad foreign policy, right?
Yeah.
They actually bring in Dr. Vingupta to argue that the shifting deadlines and the suggestion that other nations should just secure the strait themselves are clinical signs of dementia.
Oh, I see. So they're taking it a step further.
Yeah. And then they build a cohesive narrative by showing that everyone, across the entire political spectrum, is suddenly agreeing on this diagnosis.
Wait, so it's not just Bernie Sanders calling him unbalanced?
No, not at all. They're layering in Marjorie Taylor Greene saying he's gone insane, Candace Owens calling him a mad king. They even cite confusion on Fox News message boards.
That is wild. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bernie Sanders on the exact same page.
I know, right? But that's the underlying methodology of the video. By showcasing far-left politicians, far-right podcasters, and even former CIA officer Larry Johnson claiming Putin and Xi Jinping are stunned, the channel attempts to strip away the partisan label entirely.
Right, they're trying to manufacture this transcendent moment of universal panic, like a shared realization of a perceived madman holding the nuclear codes.
Exactly. Which spills over into how they portray the international fallout. The video highlights Iranian officials basically calling the bluff, demanding war reparations before the strait even opens.
But what's genuinely surreal to me is how this is playing out digitally. Like, Iranian social media and embassy accounts are mocking the shifting deadlines by posting AI memes of Trump negotiating with his own shadow.
Oh, it completely redefines the landscape of international diplomacy. The core takeaway here isn't just about the specific claims against Trump. It's about the mechanics of modern media. This video is really a masterclass in how digital platforms curate scattered tweets, quotes, and AI memes, weaponized by partisan panic, and construct a cohesive narrative about national security.
It really shows how easily the digital sphere can build a case for that constitutional emergency stop button. Which leaves you with this to mull over. In an era where international conflict and political discourse are dominated by social media memes and constantly shifting digital deadlines, how does a society actually objectively measure the mental fitness of its leaders?